Assalamu alaikum girls. Today we are going to study types of joints. This is the continuation of your chapter which was support and movement. So a joint actually is a location where two or more than two bones meet, and they are designed to provide support and movement both, for mechanical support also. Okay, because of according to the degree of movement they are divided into different types. Immovable joints, which are also known as fixed joints, slightly movable joints, and then movable joints. So, and ball and socket joints also. So, if you see some of the joints, they cannot be moved. For example, the joints of the skull bone, these are the fixed joints which cannot be moved at all. These joints are fixed joints. And slightly movable joints are the joints which are present in the vertebra, which can be moved to an extent, to a certain degree, and not more than that. Then comes the movable joints. They allow a variety of movement. For example, the shoulder joint can be moved in a circular motion. The hip joint cannot be moved in a circular motion. It can just be moved forward and backward. And the elbow joint also. For example, see, the elbow joint moves in a specific plane. If this is your elbow, how is it going to move? It is going to move this way, and it can also move the other way around also, this way also. Okay, so your this elbow can move in a circular plane. It cannot move upward, and it can move backward and forward, but not left and right. You cannot move it in the left, in the light. So that is why we say that it is moving to a certain degree in a certain plane, in one plane only. So the plane it is moving is backward and forward, and not left and right, not side to side. It's moving forward and backward only. And the main types of joints in the movable joints are the hinge joints. For example, because they act as a hinge. When you open the door and when you close the door is just moving in one plane, and it cannot rotate and it cannot move from the other side also. It is just fixed from the one side, and it moves back and forth, not left and right. Okay, so the knee and elbow joints, the knee joints is this in the same way, is a hinge joint. You cannot move it left or right sidewards. You can only move it backward and forward. Okay, ball and socket joints, they allow the movement in all directions. The hip joints and the shoulder joints. Now if you talk about the shoulder joints, if this is your elbow, then this will be your shoulder. So this shoulder, now it can move in all directions, and again the hip also, it can move in all the directions, but the knee cannot move in all directions. It will just move in one plane. So see, now if they ask you about the difference between the hinge joint and the ball and socket joint, first of all you will say that it moves back and forth like the hinge on a door, and one plane movement only. The examples are knee and elbow and hinge joints, and in case of the ball and socket joints, the movement is present in all the directions, and the hip and shoulder joints and ball are the examples of the ball and socket joints. So see, the ball and socket joint, it moves back and forward also, and it can rotate also. But this hinge joint, on the other hand, can move in one plane also. So the examples of the hinge joint and the ball and socket joints are very important for the proper understanding, and you can understand with the help of these. You can, with the help of the examples, you can understand them better. Okay, now comes the roles of the ligament and the tendon. These are also muscles. They are not joints and they are not bones also. They are the bands of connective tissues, and they are made up of, they are like muscles. They appear like muscles, but they are actually the connection between the muscles and the bones. And this point here, The neck joint between vertebral column and the head allows the movement from side to side. So see, the vertebral column and the head, again, they both of them, they they contain the hinge joint, and they can move from one plane to the other plane only. And if there is other kinds of joints there, for example the ball and socket joints, what will happen, the head could rotate on 180-degree, and the vertebral column also, but which is not designed, which is not proper according to the structure of the humans. Okay, so tendons and ligaments are the bands of connective tissue, and the composition is collagen. So these are tough bands, they are attached to the bones. Again, their function is support and movement. When a muscle contracts, the tendon exerts a pulling force on the attached bone, which moves as a result. So when you'll study them in detail, then you'll know they are, so ligaments are strong, but they are flexible also. They are joining one bone to joints. So what is the function of the ligaments? They are joining bones to joints. And what is the use? They prevent the dislocation of bones and the joints. So sometimes when we get injured, the bone is not fractured, but they say it's dislocated. So the dislocation is because of the um, these these tendons and ligaments. They are dislocated and not fractured. So see, this in this figure, these are the ligaments and these are the tendons. So these tendons, they attach muscles to bones, and the difference between the tendons and ligaments is that the ligaments are flexible and they join bone to another bone. They join bones to bones but at joints. And now we'll study the mechanism of these tendons and ligaments and how they support in the movement. So you must remember that the muscles mechanism of muscle is just pulling and contracting, but they cannot push other muscles and they cannot move in this manner. Just contraction and extension and contraction. Okay, most activities like standing, walking, running, playing require the combined action of several muscles that we already know. That then muscles and movement, we know that when bones move at joints, they produce movements, and because of the contraction of the muscles, we see the movements, and the tendons are also involved in there. Okay. Okay, so here they are showing you the mechanism of the antagonistic muscles. So first you should know what are the antagonistic muscles. Antagonistic muscles are those muscles which work together. When one muscle contracts, the other muscle relaxes, and when the other relaxes, the first muscle contracts. This kind of a phenomena is known as antagonistic phenomena, and they actually the muscles, they work in pairs. So in case of this example, we have two muscles here, this one and this one. Both these are actually antagonistic in nature. And see, the first muscle is here at the origin. The first one is the origin. This end of muscle is known as the origin. Why? Because it is immovable, and the other one is insertion. This is movable. So here if you see carefully, this area is insertion, which is movable, and this one is origin, which is immovable. Okay, so when you move your muscles, this area is this is the immovable point, which is the origin, and this moves. So see, where are the muscles attached? Both of them are attached here. This is the point of origin, and then this is the point of insertion, which is movable. Again, same case is here during the process of extension. Now we have cleared 2 points: what are antagonistic muscles, and what is origin, what is insertion, and what is antagonistic action. The antagonistic action is the action which is performed by the muscles um, which work in pairs. It means they are both doing the opposite jobs, and when one is relaxed, other contracts. When the other is contracted, the first one relaxes. So so the insertion in this case is the bones of the forearm. These are the bones of the forearm, and the um, pectoral girdle. See, this area is known as the pectoral girdle, which is the bone of the shoulder. This is origin here, which is immovable. So when the biceps contract, here see the biceps are contracting. And one more thing, what is flexion and what is flexion and extension? So extension means extending and flexion means bending. Okay, so when we talk about flexion, it means the arm is bent, but when we are talking about extension, it means the arm is not bent and it is extended. Okay, so now I think it is pretty clear that the flexion of the elbow joint, during this flexion the triceps muscle, they relax. See, this is the bicep is contracted and the tricep is relaxed here, but they are antagonistic. So here, when the extension takes place, the biceps are relaxed and the triceps are contracted. So this is the mechanism of the movement of the elbow, and this action is known as antagonistic action. And the example is biceps and triceps. Please complete your exercise, the MCQs, and please let me know if there is any confusion in the exercise. And this point to ponder also is here. Which point of attachment is pulled when the muscle contracts? So yes, this is very um, easy, that the point of insertion is pulled because it is movable, and the origin um, will not move because this is the immovable area. So please complete your exercise and ask me if you have any question. The last topic, which is the disorders of the skeletal system, is actually reduced in your syllabus, so we will not be discussing that.